spaceship in outer space in the year 2022 gradually loses contact with Earth. The 6 crew members try to cope with the growing despair. Commander Harding tries to remain calm, but each realizes they are drifting into the abyss, and hope for rescue is fading by the minute. Co-pilot Giles initially shows nervousness, accusing Harding of not making effective decisions. Engineer Leslie, along with mechanic Paxton, investigate the ship's malfunctions, but the system failures worsen. After a few days of helpless wandering, they fix on the radar object Old Space Shuttle, according to the documents listed as missing. Hope revives the team suggests that there may be oxygen supplies or repair equipment on board. Harding decides to send a research team there, despite the unease the find causes Leslie. Her wariness is due to the fact that the shuttle has disappeared without a trace, and no record of its crew has survived. When the ships dock, a group of explorers including Harding, Leslie, and Paxton make their way inside. The atmosphere on board is horrifying. The walls are covered in strange symbols resembling ancient manuscripts, and the equipment looks as if it has been deliberately disabled. They find several corpses of shuttle crew members. The bodies are in a state of severe decomposition, and their postures indicate that death caught up with them in a panic. Leslie notices the diary of one of the crew members, which describes the unexplained menace that engulfed the ship before it disappeared. Giles, who remained on board, begins to experience headaches while the research team is in the shuttle. He hears strange sounds like someone whispering his name. However, he writes it off as fatigue and does not inform the others. Meanwhile, Harding and his team find a working oxygen tank, which they decide to transfer to the ship. They also take the computer modules in hopes of extracting useful information from them. Once back on board, the weirdness continues. Giles becomes increasingly irritable and suspicious. Leslie checks the data from the modules, but discovers that they are encrypted with symbols similar to those found on the walls of the shuttle. At the same time, the ship's central computer begins to malfunction. Sudden blackouts and unauthorized activations of systems create the feeling that someone or something is interfering with their control. Leslie notices that Giles has become aggressive. He withdraws from communication, but claims that there is an intruder on board. Harding, trying to maintain discipline, tries to calm him down, but it only makes the situation worse. Giles claims to have seen a shadow in the corridor that moved faster than the human eye. The others begin to believe that he simply can't handle the stress. Meanwhile, Leslie discovers that the ship's systems have begun to change parameters spontaneously. For example, the temperature in certain compartments drops dramatically and ventilation ducts become blocked. Paxton finds damage that looks like someone deliberately cut the cables. He shares this with Harding, and they decide to examine the compartments in more detail. In one of the compartments, Leslie and Paxton find another set of symbols that begin to remind her of the journal entries found on the shuttle. She experiences an inexplicable fear, as if something is watching them from the darkness. Soon after, an image resembling one of the symbols appears on the ship's monitors, but it flashes by too quickly to be seen. Giles at this time is finally spinning out of control. He shouts loudly that he hears voices and attacks Paxton, accusing him of sabotage. He manages to escape and Harding organizes a search. Leslie continues to analyze the data from the module, and she manages to decipher some of the messages. They speak of an entity that uses symbols to infiltrate people's minds, driving them insane. Harding and Leslie decide to try to shut down the ship's central system to eliminate the source of the influence, but the system fails. They begin to suspect that the ship is under the control of something external. Giles, meanwhile, sabotages the main life support system, which jeopardizes the lives of all crew members. When they finally find Giles, he is clearly no longer in his right mind. His eyes express emptiness and his speech becomes incoherent. He says that the entity won't let them go and tries to destroy their oxygen supply. In the struggle, Leslie manages to disarm him, but he dies, uttering a cryptic phrase that sounds like a warning. Harding, Leslie, and Paxton decide to activate the emergency protocol. This involves manually launching escape pods, but the ship begins to actively resist their actions. The control systems lock up, and Harding realizes that he will have to sacrifice himself to give Leslie and Paxton a chance at rescue. He stays aboard to divert the entity's attention while Leslie and Paxton abandon ship. The last thing they see from the capsule's porthole is the flash of the shuttle exploding. But the relief is short-lived inside the capsule. Leslie notices that the same symbols have reappeared on her screen.